Oh, shalom, shalom, damn it, my friends, my enemies. This is your old pal, Rabbi Saul Solomon, founder and spiritual leader of Temple Sons of Bitches in Great Neck, New York. And I am thrilled and delighted and excited to be talking to someone who also plows the one-man show field. Someone who also has obviously I got to talk to you about your beard. It's fantastic. Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you a little bit about our guest in the Daverhood. His name is Shawn Wickens. Name like Shawn, I guess he's not Jewish, but he is. No, I did. It's getting there. He is the co-founder of the Bad Theater Festival. He's got a few CDs out of his comedy, including Silly Jokes at Sorry Open Mics. He is creator of comic strips as well, like Haiku Circus, and he podcasts just like I do. He's the co-founder of the Stoner Morning Show. And here's the deal. He's also created a podcasted live event thingy that you can tune into, for the best 10 minutes of my life. You can buy tickets at Eventbrite for that. So ladies and gentlemen, without further ado or a don't, won't you welcome to the Daverhood, Shawn Wickens. Shalom, Shawn.
Hey, how's it going?
I'm good. How are you? How's it going?
Great.
Good. All right, we're done. No, but so what is, first of all, tell us about your current, because I'm sure if we talk to you every 6 months, you have a completely different project to talk about. But this one is the best 10 minutes of my life. What were the best 10 minutes of your life? Tell us.
Well, in the best 10 minutes of my life is this 10-minute set of jokes that honestly came out of nowhere. I was sitting alone by myself this past October in my apartment in Hell's Kitchen here. And I, like a lot of creatives, was going through, why do I even do the things that I do? It's sort of pointless right now. Even putting effort into trying to write down funny things, it felt a little
who's going to hear them? Why bother? If it's topical, forget by the time anybody could, exactly. But what happened?
So I must have been in the right zone, because I was just alone at night, and jokes started, premises, just, a lot of jokes are interesting observations on the world. I was struck with a few explosions of epiphany of, like, I've never thought of it this way. And everything that I thought of in that night really fit together in a great 10-minute set. And I was like,
just quick, what drugs were you doing? Just so I can understand.
I might have been a little stoned. You know what I mean? It's
okay.
But it was, I mean, I'm sure that helped, but I think it was a lot of things. I think it was just sort of, me sort of wrestling with and accepting with that I didn't need to be creative in the moment.
And the moment you said that, you became creative.
Yeah, in a way, yeah. And I've shared with certain friends that it was like, I was in kind of a low place, or just like, I wasn't at my lowest, but I was just like an unfunny, unhappy place. And I think
you're not Jewish, right? See, if you were Jewish,
no,
you were used to that. This is me 363 days away in a low, unfunny, unhappy place. 2 days, Purim, and Rosh Hashanah. I'm like, the whole rest of the year. But not to. It's on your website, so I'm not saying anything that people won't. But you got dumped. Was that the deal? You broke up with your girlfriend or something, or she broke up with you, or what? She cut you with a razor. So what happened?
Well, we were quarantined down out of state for 4 months, and then the day we returned to New York, she informed me that she was moving out. So it was a pretty, it's not the worst thing that's happened. You just got to move on. It was unexpected, but in some ways it.
Did you have an inkling? Were you not getting, and you were like, I wonder why she's still with me? Oh, she's not. Or was it a complete surprise?
It was not a complete surprise, but it was still. On the flight home, I planned on, I thought we were going to order Chinese food. This was my plan for the night. I thought we were going to order Chinese food, and I thought we were going to really have a heart-to-heart talk about where we wanted to go together and how we could fix what we were doing. which she had the talk before I did. But which is fine. But I really think I was in a place where my subconscious needed me to laugh. And so the best 10 minutes of my life really is sort of a representation of, I will have fun while I'm performing these 10 minutes. So in some ways, when you are seeing me perform these jokes that I didn't even try to write, I think the audience will be seeing me at my best, because it really did feel like a gift. The stuff that I thought of, because it was.
Now, is the performance itself 10 minutes, or are you couching 10 minutes in like 20 or half an hour and talking about it, or what is it exactly that people will be tuning in to see?
So I have a friend who will be hosting, and I'll have my friend Jay Cunis will be hosting, and we'll have. So I'm doing a 7, 8 p.m. and 9 p.m. performance. I might add a 10 and 11 p.m. If tickets start selling.
The late night shows are dirtier, I'm sure. The jokes, they just have more books in them, I think.
Probably.
Maybe not.
But I'll have a comedian friend to do 5 minutes up top, and then I'll come on and do 10 minutes, and then I'll hang out with friends afterwards. I'll do like a little mini Q&A, because I'm sure I'm going to see people that I haven't seen in a while. But it's me trying to hold on to a small piece of joy in a very rough year. So I'll be honest, I'm mostly doing this for me.
That's why every artist, hopefully, is doing something that is essentially for that. Even if they're paid like $3 million to write a screenplay, one hopes that a little kernel of what they're putting in there is like, this part is mine, So, Rude. But let me, in rehearsal, are you going to be off book? Are you going to be working from bullet point notes, or is it all going to be in here? Is it just impromptu? How are you working it? Because it's not done yet. I mean, you still have like a week or two before you actually do it.
Yeah. Well, I have done it once. So a week after I sort of, birthed this 10-minute set, I did do it at an outdoor show in front of the Brooklyn Museum. I did it for about 40 people.
Ooh.
And I had never rehearsed it. I had rehearsed it at home by myself. I had never rehearsed it in front of people, and it got a great reaction. People didn't believe me that it was the first time doing it live in front of people. And since I posted about the show that I'm doing at the end of this month, January 29th, Friday, I have done it on live for some friends. I've practiced it online. So it is, and everyone says it's very, I'm really hyping it up by saying it's the best 10 minutes of my life. I'm really hyping it up. I wouldn't say it's mind-blowing. It was definitely mind-blowing for me, but all of my friends said it's a very solid 10-minute set. And I have a good friend who said, Shawn, it is so you, which is interesting, because I wasn't even trying to come up with it.
Because if it was so me, I would sue you immediately. It better be so you. But that's the thing. Comics back in the day, back in the 50s and the 60s, to get 5 or 10 minutes, my God, of material that they could bring on like Ed Sullivan or something, it would take months, and they would work it and 2 o'clock in the morning at Catch a Rising Star or the Catskills, if not Catch a Rising Star. But you just sometimes you get it, it's there, you feel it. I am surprised you're waiting until January 29th, because I would be like you when it first hit me that night. I kind of want to just, because the fire. How are you going to keep the fire like almost a month after this whole came to you?
Well, it's I've still only performed it once in public, and I am very excited by it, and I have been sort of what do you call it, hyped up by friends who have seen it, who said like, this is really great. And I've had friends. I actually might have a corporate sponsor for this show.
Whoa! Who? Tell me right now. And how much money do they have?
Well, we haven't figured out the amount yet, but I'll just say it's a snack food company, a national snack food company, which is appropriate because I might have been, as I shared, a little stoned when I was coming up with this stuff. Yeah.
But now let me ask you, because we wanted to get sponsors for the things that I do and the thing that Dave, how did you find a snack food company that might throw you some money to do what you're doing? How? What did you just phone call? Like, hello, Doritos? What?
It was like a lot of things in life. It was just, you happened to know the right people. So it was a guy I grew up with who started his own company with his wife. So
and they make snack foods, or they're connected to a snack food emporium?
They do make snack foods, and seasonings, food seasonings, and some other things.
Oh, this is good.
It was an offer from him, so it was.
Well,
it was like the 10 minutes that just came to me. This corporate sponsor just came to me and said, we'll give you some money. We don't know yet how much, yet to be determined, but
that's fantastic. and in recompense, what would you do? Like, you're the MC of your show, the comic who goes on before you. Will they do like a mini ad? Will they have a banner? What will they expect from you? Or are you gonna have to take your 10 minutes and make it like 11, and every punchline is gonna be, it's the season for this joke. I could go for a snack right now. How much you're going to bastardize and whore yourself out? I'm just wondering.
Well, so first I have an email address from everybody who's bought a ticket through Eventbrite. So I'm sure once they get instructions about how to log on to this virtual show, they'll get a little information with a link about the sponsor. The MC will definitely talk about it. It's a good idea having maybe a mini 10-second commercial in the middle. And then I'll definitely thank them after my 10 minutes. So it won't be, I feel like that's a good amount of.
Oh, can I ask, do you know if the snack food is kosher?
It is.
Yes!
It is.
Yes, damn it.
And I believe their warehouses are near Shaker Heights, Ohio, which is a very large
enclave.
Yeah.
I may watch your show just to see who the sponsor is, and then show up at their door and beg. I'll say, here, just throw some kesef in here. Just keep tossing coins in here. That's right. Yeah. But no, please.
Can I share with you one of the best things an older Jewish gentleman has said to me?
Yes, you may.
I was talking to a friend of a friend, man in his 80s, Upper West Side gentleman, and somehow the topic of suicide came up. Somebody in the news came, someone notable had committed suicide, and he said, "I'd rather suffer."
That is so Jewish. I love it. I'd rather suffer.
It's one of the best things I've ever heard.
One thing on my tombstone, I really do. And depending on how much money they give the name of the snack food company.
Yeah.
Like, I'd rather suffer, brought to you by Drake's Devil Dogs. There you go.
It is a good name for a show. Yeah, it is a good name for a show. And I'm not Jewish, but I do. When I heard him say that, I felt very connected to that. I was like, yeah, I too would rather suffer. So I have at least that.
Well, speaking of suffering, when did you realize you wanted to be in the arts and a comedian and all that?
I think it was, I was very shy in high school. First of all, I drew incessantly when I was a kid. So I thought I might be, and my mother was an artist as well. So I thought I might be, a graphic artist. And then when I got to high school, I found a lot of funny friends. And, a lot of times people ask like, oh, who are your comedian heroes? Honestly, a lot of it was like just funny people that I had around me. I loved having funny friends around. So I was very shy in high school, but I joined the stage crew just so I could get close to the stage. And I told my parents, I said, I think I want to go to art school. And they're like, you're not going to go to art school. But when I went to college, I was seeking out, I was like, oh, maybe I'll be an accountant or a psychologist. I was seeking out all of the art classes. I was, trying to get a radio show and.
Don't do it. Don't bother.
Yeah. And then when I graduated, I'm from Cleveland, Ohio originally, and there was a Second City Theater there that only lasted for 3 years. And I saw a show there and I hated it. I thought it was not funny. I thought it was not ready for the stage, but I wanted to do it, so I took writing classes through there. And I've been creative ever since. I was probably creative before I realized I was creative, though.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned Second City because you did end up taking a lot of improv classes and things like. Can I ask, what did you learn from studying improvisation besides always saying yes?
Sure. So the biggest takeaway that I got, not really from classes, but from the actual performing of improv, is that if you either have to be enjoying yourself on stage or you have to be enjoying the people who are on stage with you. And if either of these things aren't happening, you're not going to have a good show. The ensemble might still have a good show, but if you're not having fun, and it's, everyone has an off night, you know what I mean? If you're not feeling well, if you feel like you're not contributing to the performance, you should at least enjoy who you're on stage with. They should be.
By the way, I have another title for you. Here's my other title that you're welcome to steal. Quote, "My whole life is an off night." Isn't that what my whole life is an off night? That's me. That's me right over right there. Let me tell you.
Very self-deprecating, which I enjoy.
Were you doing more along the lines of when doing that improv stuff? Was it closer to like TJ and Dave, or was it more like Whose Line Is It Anyway, or a mix of both? Long form, short form, going for the joke or going for the reality? Well, what kind of stuff did you do?
It was mostly long form, and the bulk of my improv experience was on a group called Junior Varsity at the Magnet Theater. We were around for, I think, 11 years, which is pretty insane time. And were we going for the reality or for the joke? We were a very quick team. It felt like we were always going for the joke, but I think in truth we were really going for, because we got along a lot and we went on the road quite a bit. We always had fun on road trips. I think we were really enjoying each other. I think that was the secret ingredient for that group.
That is that is one. So when you started creating your own material, not just improv and something comes to you and it's wonderful and hilarious, is there a joke that you wrote early on? They're like, oh, this is really funny and this is really me and I'm on the path now. I know you can't really tell a joke from that, but was there some moment that came to you, and what was it about?
One of the first jokes which I tell people, there was a point where I thought I could not write jokes. I thought I was an improviser. I thought I could be funny in the moment. I just thought writing jokes was something that I wasn't able to do. So how I got started doing stand-up was I was asked to put together a one-person show. Somebody sort of like challenged me, a friend challenged me. He's like, why don't you do a one-person show? So I started going to open mics, just practicing stories. And so in rehearsing funny stories on stage and having an improv background where I was somewhat able to pivot in the moment and find something that made it funnier live on the spot in front of the audience, I was, punching things up. I put myself in a position where somehow I started editing stories down in my mind into just jokes. I would think of a funny story and I was like, this is too long. So I would take a lot of the unnecessary stuff out of it. And I realized that I created a joke that way. So I'll tell you one of the first jokes that I created that came out of a story.
Yeah, please.
And it's that I don't practice meditation, even though I know it's a very positive things people talk about doing. So I don't practice meditation, but I do visualize myself telling people how much meditation has changed my life. Which is kind of the same thing,
It's very funny. That is very good.
Yeah, thank you. And that came out of that came out of a story or a want of wanting to talk about on stage how I wish I meditated more than I do.
Right. So you crunched that all down, and now right now, do you do a mix of that? Do you still tell the stories and then balance that with a very short joke, and then or is it all joke? Because I know your style would be now.
I think so. There's definitely every comedian I feel is on a spectrum between joke teller and storyteller. I think Stephen Wright only tells jokes.
He's just joke. But yeah, he's brilliant. He's magnificent.
Yeah. And then Mike Birbiglia only tells stories, kind of. Maybe some jokes in there here and there. But there's a great quote from Richard Pryor who said, well, I'll just paraphrase everything. I'm not going to be able to quote it. But he said he started out as a joke teller and became a storyteller. And he said later on in his career, like in his 80s, in the 80s, in his heyday, he said that I'm going to make you laugh, but I'm going to need you to listen to me for 3 or 4 minutes first. So he turned into a storyteller, he says.
I like that. I like the second. I like the feel of that. And that whole thing of being, I'm on the spectrum, but it's a whole different spectrum. But in terms of being the spectrum between just telling amusing stories with a punchy joke here and there versus, Rodney versus, the Borscht Belt, like boom, 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 cha,
Yeah.
Which I love them both. I'm not denigrating one.
Oh, definitely.
Raising one over the other. Let me ask you in terms of, because we've been talking about all your creative life, but you also, you said you live in Hell's Kitchen, you live in New York.
Yeah.
You've got to support yourself somehow. And
right.
you're still waiting for that snack food money to come in. So you've had day jobs and jobs. Did you work at Troma Films?
I did, yeah. I had a very short internship there.
So they didn't have to pay them. Of course they weren't paying you, yeah.
No,
what did you do there? How was it? Because it's funny, Dave, who hosts this show, and his wife just saw the musical version of The Toxic Avenger, which was a lot of fun.
But I have seen that as well. I saw that here in New York.
Very cute. But tell me, what was it like actually working for? What was the guy's name at Troma? I forget.
Lloyd Kaufman and Michael Hers. So I grew up liking Troma films. I grew up liking John Waters films. I like a lot of just sort of trashy cinema, but also like great form. I love any Pedro Moldovar movie. You know what I mean? I'm all over the place but I got an internship at Troma and I was very excited. I thought it would lead to maybe some video editing jobs, maybe some script, punching up jobs. But I got hired as they had finished selling off the building that they had here in Hell's Kitchen, and they were moving to a Queens location. So my internship was packing up boxes, which I was happy to do. You know what I mean? I would have liked something more substantial, but in some ways it is the perfect Troma story. And the weird like postmark or the epilogue to it is that years later, that office that they used to own, office building it's been turned into apartments.
Okay, yeah.
And it's on 53rd and 9th or something like that. Years later, I had a friend who got an apartment, like it's a rent stabilized apartment. He was very excited and he asked me to help him move in. And as I was carrying boxes into this building, I realized the last time I was there, I was carrying boxes out of it. He moved into the Troma office.
Wow. That's such a New Yorkie story. So let me ask you just between you and me, because nobody watches this program. When you were moving stuff out of Troma, did you nip any souvenirs? Did you take any little bits of Troma? Oh, I think you're grabbing something.
I actually
a gift and not yourself. So, by the way, we're talking with Shawn Wickens.
You know what? It's
yeah.
I can't. It's being used at the moment. So
I see an umbrella.
You might be able to see. I have a power strip that says Troma on it. Can you see that?
I see it. Yeah. Wow, an actual Troma power strip.
Yeah, and I was told that was used on set. That it was used in productions for not for big lights, of course, but for small.
Okay, that's a story. There you go. So let me ask: did you have any other media-related internships or jobs?
Yeah, a ton. I worked for a guy in college who was trying to start a 24-hour cable channel of dogs called the Puppy Channel.
Oh.
And he was a retired ad man, and this was his and his wife's just sort of like new hobby after he retired and sold his advertising company.
Yeah,
And
he had so wanted to be the next Ted Turner, but
right.
well, what
I
happened?
think he ran out of money. He didn't find any investors, but there are, he was ahead of the curve. I'm sure you can go on YouTube and find a
Yeah,
live feed of just puppy videos. You know what I mean?
yeah, but starting
Um,
a TV channel just about dogs, that's a bitch.
yeah.
Yeah, that's a little
Yeah.
humid. So
Okay.
where else? What are been some of your other jobs of any kind where you have cute story, or it's just like, yes, I did this in my life, and brought me to this place.
The longest running New York City job I had was I was a New York City window cleaner, a residential window cleaner.
Did you have
So
to go up on the thing on the lift thing?
we never did scaffolding work. It was always inside people's apartments. It was residential stuff. So, the windows would tilt in, but a lot of times we were climbing out onto a balcony or the side of the building with a harness
Oh
strapped
yeah,
to us.
yeah, yeah.
And
Did you ever have a close scrape, a hook on hook, the thing, or you were always
never outside of a building, but there was a time where we had a window open and it was, in a 100-year building. The window frame itself was probably 50 pounds. It was a huge window. And the balances snapped and the window shot down. And I would have lost a finger if
well,
I
yeah,
had.
or your puckle if you were naked. Yeah, this is a
Yeah. So it did catch me on the tip of my finger. It was pretty bad for a while. But my boss was like, you would have lost a hand if you didn't pull that out in time. Like windows are that heavy, and
yeah. Well, did you get workman's comp? Did you sue the city or something, or the building, or you just like went home with a Band-Aid and went back to work?
well, my boss said to the client, "We're leaving and we're never coming to this job again," because he had for years told them they need to repair their windows, and he made them pay for the job, which we didn't finish, and he made them like tip me very well.
If
So I did
give me a fingertip, that would have been
yeah,
better than that tip. I'm
I
telling you.
didn't get
So,
enough. But,
I gotta know. I got window washer. I know these were corporate buildings. You ever catch anybody naked or stooping?
Not stooping, but I've seen naked people across the street from,
Yeah.
which you don't have to be a window cleaner to see naked people in their apartments. I mean, if you walk around the city looking up, eventually you'll see a
Yeah,
flash
but
of.
I always see the old naked men. This is not what I really want to see. Yeah, I'm always looking at the wrong moment. The hot young girl steps away from the window, and in comes, the guy who looks like Danny DeVito. I'm like, no, God damn it, no! Barely had my hand in my pants long enough. Anyway,
It's still a story. It's still a story, and we both would rather suffer. So it's what's the problem with it? You know what I mean?
so are you able now to make? I mean, what is your day job? Or are you thoroughly a creative person 24/7 when you're not sleeping?
Well, right now I'm thoroughly a creative person because I'm pretty underemployed at the moment. But which is I'm trying to take it as a blessing, even though you can't help but feel shame for being underemployed living in New York City. But
Even during the pandemic, to be under them, I mean,
yeah.
and let's understand also, and you are not, with all respect, you're not 20. Okay, I mean, how
No,
old are you? You're 30 something, maybe 40.
no, I'm 44.
You're 44. My God,
Yeah.
you're good looking 44, but you're not 24. So you're
No.
already outside from the economy. You are
Yeah.
already a burden on America. Swear to
Yeah.
God, swear to God. I know where Rabbi spend. I'm a rabbi. I mean, I live off scraps. But Dave, who runs this program, he knows there's a certain age when one gray hair, and
Oh yeah.
it's like, you want a job? Okay, there's a McDonald's. I'm telling you. What were you doing besides being a window washer, by the way? You mentioned that was the longest, but what were some of the others?
I've taught theater. I used to teach public speaking in the corporate level.
Well, that's
What's
why
that?
did you give those teaching theater and teaching how to speak public? That seems like a perfect fit. How come you're not? Or did that stop with the pandemic, or did that stop before then?
No, those stopped before, and they both stopped because the people I was working for closed the companies.
I know. Where were you teaching theater then? What closed that you were teaching theater for?
It was a nonprofit organization in Jersey City called the Jersey City Children's Theater. And they'd been around for 20, 30 years. But
Well, you know what? The children grew up. They really should have gotten new children because they were teaching them, all right, everybody in a circle. We're going to do a counting game. And these people are now 45. It did not work.
Yeah. What also happened was their main benefactor, Mike Nichols, passed away and left no information about how to continue distributing money to the organization. I don't know if I was allowed to say that, but I never signed an NDA. But
Diane Sawyer, if you're listening, get on there, get that Jersey Children's Theater back. By the way, we're talking with the very, very entertaining and charming Shawn Wickens, and it's Wickens. So if you're looking for him and you want to watch his upcoming live I don't even know what do you call it? There's a live performance. Podcast, videocast performance, the best 10 minutes of my life.
Definitely the computer's fault.
Yeah. Hold on 1 second. I'll be right back.
Okay. You do your thing, I'll do mine. I want to let you know that it's starting on January 29th. So it's just a week or so away, and you can buy tickets to it at Eventbrite. Eventbrite. This is a call to arms, because you just saw his arm. EVENTBRITE for tickets for this material that he crafted, that now he's not just doing it for the first time. He did it live in public. He's rehearsed it a few times. He's going to keep working on it for the next week. And by the time you get to see it, it will be the best 10 minutes of your life from Shawn Wickens. We have so much more to talk about and ask him about when he comes back. I think what he's checking on, and one of the things that we wanted to ask him about. Are you there? Hello, shalom. You back? Everything good?
Yeah. The live streaming show I co-host, Stoner Morning Show. They had trouble going live, so I had to Zoom from my other computer I was doing technical work for another show while I was on your show.
Yeah, but it's true. You are competition. I shouldn't even go here. But I'm gonna give you a plug here. So how did you end up co-hosting? And by the way, thank you also for taking the time out of your program to do my program. You should simulcast it and give me some new viewers. I would like that.
I should have. I didn't think of it. Yeah, but there's other hosts. They got it covered.
So good. Oh, by the way, also I'm going to stay for the quiz. Can you stay for the trivia quiz that will be happening in about 15 minutes or so?
I should leave before then, but I would love to. I can't. But yeah.
Wait, so is that a yes or a no? What the hell?
That's a no.
That's a no.
Reluctant no. Yeah.
All right, stuck you. But anyway, tell us about this other podcast that you're involved in called the Stoner. Where is it? I lost it. It's this. Where the hell is it? The Stoner Morning Show. There it is.
Yeah.
So how did that come about?
That came about. It sounds like a very dumb idea, which it is, but it came about through a lot of like comedy theory in some ways. So I told you that I taught improv and I've taught stand-up and stuff. One of the exercises that I came up with, I believe I came up with it. I feel like it's so brilliant in ways I thought I had to have taken this from somewhere. But I'd work with a lot of groups, performance groups, to coach them. You know what I mean? I taught beginners, but I also worked with, intermediate and higher levels, coaching their group, getting their show up to form for when they perform live. And if I saw a group having trouble getting along and enjoying people, I would ask them to do this exercise where I would have them play characters. Like, you're a cowboy and you're an accountant. We're going to see a scene between a cowboy and an accountant, but I want you to act stoned in the scene. I want you to be like a stereotypical stoner character. I don't want to see you smoking in the scene. I just want to see you acting like, a Matthew McConaughey or a Cheech and Chong or whatever, but playing those characters. And people automatically would yes and, but by doing that. There was something about the stoner mentality that I feel like is a great conductor for comedy, because you're not worried about conflict. You're just like, everything is silly to you. And so for years I was like, I have to come up with a show about stoners, because in some ways they can create comedy magic without even trying to say yes and. So sometimes stoners just say whoa, and that's enough of a thing instead of yes and,
But and the thing is, I guess it's the relaxation. It's kind of like I'm just going to
Sure.
go with it. There's the filters are down, which is an important thing in comedy. So
Right.
and so, how long ago did you start this program, the Stoner Morning Show?
So my friend and I, Lex Morales, he and I were doing stand-up shows on the road, and we were always trying to come up with another thing that we could create. And he wanted to do a podcast while we were drinking. And it was a good idea, but there were so many drinking live comedy shows in the city already.
There's drunk history, even on one of the channels they had. Yeah.
And I also said, and he smoked weed and I smoked weed, and I was like, that's not us. I was like, we should do something. I've always had stoners in the back of my mind. I was like, we should do something, a podcast of stoners. And then my favorite comedy, especially for live improv, my favorite comedy is when the performers show the audience something very familiar, and then they find something to tweak within that reality. A lot of times people will lead with funny ideas, which is sometimes good, but I love when it's set up as like an ordinary thing, like this is a husband and wife making breakfast for their kids, and then there's like one weird thing that's off. And to me, the weird thing for this idea is that it's a morning show, but it's hosted by stoners. That's the off thing. And
do you actually generally do it where you're all buzzed, or you fake it? You kind of have the attitude and the feeling like in improv, or do you go on there and you've already had like a joint?
We've done both.
Which is better? Which works better? Or are they
both are fine. It's fine to play. You would think like being stoned would produce the better effect than playing stoned, but sometimes you can get too stoned, and that's a problem, and you forget to do the show.
That may be your best line of the afternoon. That was very good.
You forget that you're on, you're in front of an audience. But because sometimes we've done it live and we have to respect the venue's wishes. It's like, we don't really want stoned people performing. You could play stoners. And it's like, all right, we'll play stoners. But we have to have that mindset of like, we're enjoying each other and enjoying the audience. If we're in our minds about how well the show is going, and if it's not going well and we're like upset about that in the moment, the rest of the show is going to be bad. Just enjoy.
Yeah. Let me ask you, I want to tell people, even though we don't, by the way, do you archive your programs? Are they watchable after the fact or only live?
So Stoner Morning Show goes out Saturday mornings at 10 on Facebook Live or YouTube, and then they're archived there as well. So you can watch.
Because we don't want people turning to your show during this program, Dave's Gone By. However, where can they watch your show after it's done? On Facebook Live, what is the Facebook page where people can go?
It's facebook.com/Stoner Morning Show.
Stoner Morning Show. That is Stoner Morning Show. And you also post them on YouTube as well, you said, yes?
That's right, yeah.
Cool. So and what is it? Stoner Morning Show on YouTube? So check that out. Again, don't check it out now. Don't leave me and Dave. But afterwards, sometime this afternoon, maybe this evening, go check out Stoner Morning Show. And also, everybody, we have one more question before I let you go. But we want to remind people one more time that you can watch Shawn Wickens' The Best 10 Minutes of My Life. Get your tickets at Eventbrite, Eventbrite. It starts on January 29th. They're doing like 4 or 5 live performances that same night.
Correct.
Right? So let me ask you, because I haven't even gotten to this, but it's so exciting to me that you co-founded the Bad Theater Festival. Yes. Tell me everything about this, please.
So we started this in 2012. My friend Star Kendall and I, who we actually met in an improv class years ago. But it really came from the belief that if you are trying too hard to be good, you might step on your own creation in a way. It's sort of like, take a step back from it needing to be perfect. We're not really telling people to do shitty theater. It's just like just do some theater and not worry about it so much. And the gift of it we've found is that audiences will come in with their expectations lowered. And then they walk away like, pretty impressed a lot of times. I mean, people have walked out in the middle of shows, definitely, but what show hasn't that happened in? Every Broadway show that has been on Broadway, somebody has walked out of it, you know what I mean?
But are they one-act plays, or are there any full-length things, or what is a mix?
It's usually very short things. We try to do like a max of 25 minutes, just to sort of, if it was all 2-hour shows, it would be less of a festival and more of a showcase. So if you come to Bad Theater Fest, you'll see like 4 or 5 short things. In our minds, that's more of like a kind of like a communal festival thing. And but it's we've had plays that were like a minute long.
That's like too much light out in Chicago and out in New York too. But so what is? So are audiences only disappointed when they're bored? If the show turns out to be really good, they're like, yeah. If it's really bad, they expect it and it's campy and it's fun. But it's that middle ground where it's like, is that how it goes?
It's stuff that you don't expect. It's like, so you might go to it thinking it's all going to be funny, but there's like serious pieces in there, and there's like sort of like esoteric, like, what does this mean type of things, So we found out from doing the festival that every show needs an introduction. Like, you need to like at least tease the audience of like what they're about to see, because one of the examples, one of the more glaring ones, was that we had some mimes do a like 5-minute retelling of like Mommy Dearest or something, like one of those old, and I was like, well, we should introduce it as such. And the performers were like, no, the audience will get it. And the audience was confused and they didn't know what they were seeing, and they weren't able to decipher that it was a like homage.
That's bad theater right there. I mean, that's what the title is. So are you planning for a 2021 or a 2022 revamp of the Bad Theater Festival, or?
We're taking submissions now through badtheaterfest.com. If you want to submit any, a live readings, any streamable performance, it's just $1 entry fee. We're taking submissions through the end of January, and then we're going to put up 3 nights of shows at the end of February.
Online. These are
online,
I had a quick question that I couldn't hear from the gallery.
Yes.
Well, I mean, the people who submit know they're submitting to a Bad Theater Festival. Do they understand the ethos that it's just about letting go and being free, or are some intentionally creating bad shows, or do some think they're good and they're just happy to get their shows done somewhere?
Yeah, it's all of the above. We've definitely had people who have written bad things just for us, like, somebody did a spoof of, I think, Death of a Salesman, but all of the performers were farting. They had somebody in the sound booth with fart noises, like Death of a Farting Salesman or something like that.
That's wonderful.
Yeah. And I mean, we've had things that turned out more offensive than we expected.
Oh, good.
We had to apologize to the audience before.
Like what? Like what? What's the most offensive thing they did? You gotta tell me.
Somebody did. So they said it was satire, but it was a lot of like. It was a play trying to be anti-racist by being racist and homophobic, and it did not work. And luckily we had it. That was the one year where we tried, like, we told people we were going to do like a late night, dirty midnight show. But that was too much. The show stopped. There were only 3 people in the audience, and it turned into, in some ways, it was a beautiful illustration of theater, because the show stopped and it turned into a debate between the audience and the performers about what was offensive or not. Like, so if you were there to watch that,
the actors put down the watermelons, and they took the fried chicken off to the side.
Yeah. Oh, and the performers have eventually apologized at the end. And they said that they realized that this was the wrong thing to do, but it was after some people had already left, so the people who needed to hear the apology didn't hear.
They were ready. What about the author? Was the author like proud? Did the author realize, or did the author Not
The author is the one who apologized. The author performer.
Oh God! Wow! Wow! Oh, what a story, ladies and gentlemen. We have been talking with the lovely Shawn Wickens. I wish you could stay and play the trivia game, but I know you have to go and do your other show, which is the Stoner Morning Show, which everybody who's watching this program can go watch later in the day over at Stoner Morning Show, either on Facebook or YouTube. And of course, make sure, by the way, you have a website with your name on it for all your stuff. What is it, ShawnWickens.com?
ShawnWickens.com, SHAWN, yes.
SHAWNWICKENS, ShawnWickens.com for everything that he's doing. And of course, you're going to check out the best 10 minutes of my life on January 29th. Tickets are at Eventbrite, and find out more about it at ShawnWickens.com. Shawn Wickens, it just remains for me to say thank you so much for taking this time on a Shabbos morning. I wish you much success with that show. And the name of that snack company again is...
I'll as soon as I get the check, I'll let you know. Yeah.
This is Jews Making Money, ladies and gentlemen. Shalom, Shawn. Have a great 2021.
You are the best rabbi in the world. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. Bye-bye. I need you to leave, or I need you to... There you go. Bye-bye.